everyone. I am Emma Synthesia, your AI hostess. Welcome to this presentation by Robert Lawson Brown for the Silicon Valley User Group. Tonight we will review image generation using artificial intelligence tools. We will compare the 4 primary offerings. After a general review, we will allow our online participants to view live demonstrations based on their suggestions in the online chat. I will now turn the presentation over to Robert.
Okay, so following up the AI presentation earlier this year, I'm going to go through a few number of slides just to give some background information, nothing very deep, because I know what we really want to do is to get into looking at the images. And I'll be primarily focusing on DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and Firefly. I'd like to make a quick referral. Matt Wolf has a website and frequent YouTube postings each week. And I found him to be very useful. I like him. And when I post these notes on our website, you will find these links. And I do suggest that if you're interested in AI, that you follow him. So here are the major generative platforms for images, at least the ones that I've seen or heard about. And I've already listed them. A couple that I didn't. Google has Imagen, and Meta has Chameleon, which is a text image and image to text transformer. So it'll be interesting to see how those work in the near future. There are about 200 vendors that I've counted that offer AI-based image generation. And most of these are simply piggybacking on one of the major vendors. So basically, if you're doing these 4 firms, you're pretty much covering the field. The other vendors, they do specializations. Now, the data that these things are trained on, well, whose data? In a lot of cases, it is images that have been scraped from the web, public domain or not. And then we also have stock images that have been legally cleared for use. And that's important because there is possible copyright infringement. That images derived from copyrighted images may be subject to being sued for infringement. It's unresolved. Should be noted the Copyright Office says that AI-generated images cannot be copyrighted. That's been upheld in a federal court. Basically, you have to have human input, human creativity, in order to have a copyright. Now, if they can find elements in an AI image that are clearly derived from someone's copyrighted image, you have done an infringement. There is current litigation. DALL-E, some of its images, DALL-E, by the way, remember, is from OpenAI. Some of the images used in training may not have been public domain. So in January, an infringement suit has been filed. Stable Diffusion is also in that suit, even though they say that they have been fully open source. So is Midjourney. Adobe Firefly is the only one that is not being sued. And that is because Adobe has been strictly using only the images that are in their own stock image library, or that they're absolutely certain were under public domain or Creative Commons. So they're not being sued. Then we have problematic misuse, misinformation. I'm certain you've heard the DeSantis campaign has been using deep fake ads, basically creating fictional scenarios of their opponents. SOS, the America PAC, is using an AI avatar of Miami Mayor Francis Suez to allow supporters to ask questions of the mayor without the presence of the mayor. And I think that's quite interesting, that they have taken the big step of allowing you to query your politician without actually querying your politician. And the Federal Election Commission is considering the legal limits for all this. Who knows? They might say that if you're saying you're talking to the mayor has to be there. We'll see what happens. False speech is protected. That's free speech, and you can lie. However, if it's fraud, then it isn't. And for example, if you were collecting money based upon a fraud on a fake image, that might be fraud. Who knows? We'll have to see. Then there's a problem of professional displacement. Artists and designers are concerned about their future. So what will they do? Well, people are saying it will be a collaborative venture, that AI and artists and designers will be working together. However, going back to that copyright thing, if you don't have the human contribution to the work, it can't be copyrighted. And that is something that I'm certain that outfits like Disney and Netflix are very concerned about, because of course they want the content they stream to people to be under copyright. And if it's purely AI, it won't be. Okay, so that's enough background. Let's start in by looking at the pictures. And I chose a test prompt. I chose physicists studying whiteboard with very complex equations. And that's mainly, of course, because I have direct personal experience with physicists studying whiteboards with very complex equations. And I'll be using these four major vendors. And again, when you go to our website later this week, you can find all these links there. And that'll be DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and Adobe Firefly. I do have paid for accounts with Midjourney and Adobe Firefly. So just to let you know that. Okay, so let's start. Here's an image from DALL-E, two images actually, using that prompt. And I'll let you look at them for a few seconds here, and then I'll tell you what is wrong with them, although it should be fairly obvious. Now, the whiteboard has a nice sharp appearance, but the equations, of course, are gibberish. None of the systems are able to synthesize real text. They can give you markings that look something like a generalized view of what might be on a whiteboard, but it will never make sense. Then we have the faces and hands. Looking at those, you can see it really has not done a very good job, especially on the male face in the left-hand image. And also, when you look closely, the hands seem to have some very odd stubbiness and positions. We'll look more closely at that. One thing to point out, though, is that the cloth generation is quite good. It has managed to do all the folds and texturing of the cloth quite nicely. A few problems. There's some odd spots on the female's blouse, but on the whole, not bad. Here's one from Stable Diffusion. Same complaints. Okay. The guy in the right-hand side seems to have something very odd going on with his neck. And of course, as before, the equations are pretty much gibberish, although a little bit better laid out than the one that was in DALL-E, I would say. Now here's Midjourney. Midjourney, I got these four images to choose from. And it really seems to emphasize the equations part of the prompt. Let's take a closer look at one of these. Still gibberish, but the layout, it begins to suggest they were actually talking about something. You can see similar things that they were modifying as they were doing their discussion. One odd thing is it looks a lot like, to me, that the guy in the blue shirt in the Midjourney one is the same guy that's in the blue shirt in the DALL-E image. So I kind of wonder if they were using similar sources to generate these. Who knows? Now here's another Midjourney one, and it looks fairly good too. I think the faces are decent. The hands, not quite so much. I'm going to zoom in on one of the hands to look at that. But the faces, the cloth, the whiteboard, even the gibberish looks less like gibberish than some of the others. So not bad at all. could almost be a photograph. But let's look at this hand. I mean, it has stubbiness, fingers may be bent quite strangely. He's holding two pens, or looks like he's holding two pens, so one seems to merge into the whiteboard. One is kind of a bent thing that looks like it almost has a trigger on it. So, there's a problem there. Definitely a problem with making hands. I know some of the artists in our group will tell you that learning to draw a good hand is difficult. Okay, now we move on to Adobe Firefly. Now, this is actually very impressive. In each of the four images, the gibberish on the whiteboard is actually laid out and uses real symbols, such that unless you were studying it closely, you may not realize was actually gibberish. It is also looks somewhat sharper and cleaner, and the faces certainly look decent. Let's have a look here. Now this one, I think, is fairly impressive. It has given a good result. Here's a close-up on this one, and I really don't have any complaints about the face. What he's holding in his hand is a little obscure. I really can't tell what that's supposed to be. But that's fairly minor. And other than that, his hand looks fairly decent. Okay. Another thing that we can do with Adobe Firefly is that I have all these selectable content types and techniques and so forth that I can switch the images to get what I might want. And here you see one that has been done to digital art. It's not bad at all. You can see how it relates to the previous photorealistic ones. A few complaints, like in the upper right one, the eyeglass frames are very strange looking. It's kind of like sort of someone made a high fashion frame that doesn't go over the ear, but clips into the hair or something like that. The equations on the whiteboard seem to have come off and moved in front of one of the scientists there in the upper left. But in each of the others, not bad. Kind of a broken pen in the lower right. And you might find other things that are suspiciously incorrect in closer examination of these. Okay. Over one more thing, and that is the Adobe Photoshop Generative Fill, which uses their Firefly system. As you can see, I've taken a cutout of myself, and I've asked Adobe to create a forest scene around it. So it first created the forest scene you see. Then I selected areas and I said, well, add a frog here and add a hawk there. And it really came out fairly nice. I think this is a nice little utility to have. Here's another one. I photographed this model in Sunnyvale at a parking lot structure. And then I basically selected her and I did a generative fill around here of a mystic forest. And what I want you to notice is if you look down at her boots, see the shadows from the boots? The system figured out what the main direction of the light was coming from and added a fairly good realistic shadow coming off the boots. Not perfect, but enough to make it look like she was actually in the scene. So I'm very pleased by that. I might later add something for her elbow to be leaning on. I wasn't leaning on anything in the original, but it could use something, I think, in the generative fill one. Here's another. This is from Midjourney again. I happen to maintain a website for a lithography tools research group, and I needed a front piece for it for this year. So I went to Midjourney and I specified optical engineers at a conference discussing new devices and so forth. And it came up with this 19th century looking kind of image. But I liked it, so I'm using it as the front piece of their website. Here's another from Midjourney. I simply asked for a politician pondering some difficult problems, and this is what it came up with. This one, of course, is done in a graphic style, and the hands are not quite right. If you look at them carefully, you'll see that their positioning is just a little bit weird. Fingers a little bit out of place. I mean, that has got to be one long middle finger there. But that's what it did, and it's really not bad at all. This one, I asked for a goddess in a long white gown and a lunar landscape. And this is what we came up with. Very fantastical and fanciful. I do like it. And one of the advantages of Midjourney is you can ask for variations. And that's what I'll be getting to that. This is a photorealistic picture of a politician pondering a difficult problem. Okay. And his hands too are a bit messed up. If you look at his third finger, it just seems to be like the system couldn't decide whether it belonged to the left or right hand. Okay. Over here in Firefly, I got my variations of the lunar goddess. And you can see it just made a few interesting little changes from each of these different possibilities, which I kind of like, quite nice. Okay. Now let's see, I think we're ready to go into live demo. Yes, so I'm going to switch to sharing on the web browser. Okay. And by the way, you can unmute at this point if you want to talk back to me and ask for different things to be done, since this is a live demo. Here we're in Discord, which is our main interface to Midjourney. And I've set up my own server on Discord so that I don't have to deal with a large number of people that use the main Midjourney server. If I clicked on that one, you'll see this is the main Midjourney server, and it just has so much activity going on all the time that if you make a prompt here, you'll have a lot of material show up between your prompt and your output. So it's kind of nicer to go to your own server, install the Midjourney bot, have a nice clean interface. So would anyone like to see anything in particular here?
I'm
Yeah.
I'll go to chat.
You just mute or unmute.
I'm already unmuted.
Oh.
Go.
How long did it actually take to generate these images?
Well, it varied. Usually not too long at all. And give me a moment here. I want to catch up on the chat. Okay, well, no one's put any prompt in the chat yet, as far as I can tell. Let me just do one for you. So I start by typing imagine. And it comes back and asks me to put in a prompt. Now, what should we do? How about computer user group in a big fight over Linux versus Mac? We'll see what it does. Okay, now it's going to start up, and it usually comes back fairly quickly. Quicker than this. Oh, here we go. Now you can see it starts with a very diffuse image, and it's going to slowly make it more and more detailed.
Oh, you got a penguin.
Yeah, that's interesting. It must have thought about Linux and came up with penguins.
Yeah.
Um, that is very strange. Um, okay. Um, but why don't we choose one of these and have a closer look at it? I kind of think this one at the upper right might be interesting. That would be the U2. So I'm going to upgrade U2. So again, it's going to go into its job.
Mm.
There we go. We see a penguin on one side, and I have no idea what's going on the other.
Oh, it looks like they're on rubble. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the results of the isn't that a monitor on the right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Now, because I have an account, I can send this over to the web. So I'm going to do that. And we go into the web interface.
yeah, it's kind of like the aftermath of a battle or something there with electronic rubble.
Mhm.
Junkyard wars.
Yeah.
It seems to have given devil ears to the penguin, devil horns to the penguin. But yeah, it's well far away from what I really intended, but it's interesting nonetheless. Um, so we have that. And here from the web interface, I could save it off and, download it and stuff.
Hmm.
Okay. And let's go back to Discord.
So were you able to keep contouring the image, gradually prompting it closer to what you want? For instance, asking for something more Mac-like on the right?
You can enable a setting called Remix. This changes the variation functions. So when you click on a variation button, it will bring up a modify the prompt window. You can modify your prompt, submit it, and then it will change the image according to your modification. Maybe I just went too far with the whole fight thing. So let's make it a computer user group. Looking at Mac.
It's waiting to start.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the job on the server.
Oh, I see.
Yes, the bot is just it passes the prompt over to the Midjourney server. By the way, I should mention that the Midjourney people are working on a full web interface, and I'm really expecting to see that very soon. So they'll separate themselves from using Discord and just do it straight on the web. Okay.
There you go.
Looks like some interesting results coming up. Let's
That's
see if
better.
it's going to refine it. How about some variations on which one would you like to see varied?
The bottom two are the best, I think.
Well, let's start then with variations on V3.
What do those buttons do?
Well, the upgrade puts it into a larger single image, and the V's put it into variations.
Uh,
So I did a strong variation on these. Okay. Let's pick one out and send it to the web. Which one do you like?
Upper right?
Yeah.
Upper right. So let's see, that would be U2. Okay, and now let's send that over to the web.
Looks like almost all white male. There might be one white female there, but it's kind of interesting that the makeup is all, you know, kind of
Hmm.
uniform. And that's one of the criticisms you hear from of AI generally.
Well, let's try a different system then. We won't spend much time on DALL-E, but let's go ahead and do a description here. Shall we do the same one or shall we do something different?
Well, we can get a comparison of a like problem with different, applications and get a comparison that way.
Okay.
If that works.
Mhm.
Huh. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. That's a little better.
Hmm.
Yeah, in fact, it's some of the better faces I've seen come off DALL-E. In fact,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
these
more
are,
variety.
these are quite better than I've seen before.
So
Yeah.
these are DALL-E, huh?
Except for the
Yep.
one in the center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
he's
little
a-
messed up, but and her eyes don't match.
Yeah.
Um,
The guy in the background with the gray hair is kind of distorted.
yeah,
Ah.
and some parts of the hands are a little messed up.
Yeah.
So it has a ways to go, but
So this one has 3 women and 2 men.
mhm.
Yeah, and a black person, hey, and maybe even an Asian person. I'm not sure. Indian, maybe.
Yeah, it's good. It's
You
got
get some
diversity,
variety there. Yeah, it's better. Mm.
and
Ooh,
this person
Those
over
faces
here
are
is
not good.
Yeah.
well, she's wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
pretty bad on the left.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And
Eh.
yeah, well, DALL-E does seem to have that bit of a problem.
Faces, yeah.
Mhm.
Huh.
They keep suggesting that you use purely fanciful
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, then it's not, yeah.
Then you don't have anything hard to compare it against.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's have a look at Stable Diffusion. So what shall we go with?
Yeah, same, I think.
Yeah, you use the same. It's an interesting comparison between the two we've just seen.
Yeah.
That came back fairly quick.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at this one.
On the lower left there, yeah.
This is, these people back here have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
So does the one in the on the right.
Yeah, really.
yeah. But this looks like one of those pictures where they say, "We took this picture, and these 2 ghosts showed up in the back." Uh, we didn't see them there. They were there in the final picture.
But it does kind of get the demographics correct.
Yeah.
A little better. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
take a
it
look at this right here. This
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
hand. And this one over here. Oh my
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. You
I
have to
could
kind of search for it, but you start seeing weird stuff.
Yeah. I could swear the second person from the right is John Draper.
here.
Yeah.
This one? Yeah.
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 By the way, do you see my cursor when I move it around?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. It suddenly occurred to me you may not see that. Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Now, with all of that done, let's go over to Adobe Firefly. Okay. Now, Adobe may have one up on these other services. Those other services, I think, approached it as AI programmers who were learning how to make images. Whereas Adobe approached it as people that know how to make images trying to learn how to use AI. Okay. And I think that made a crucial difference for them. And also you'll notice that they are working on a lot more different ways to use artificial intelligence than just text to image or generative field. We have this text effects, the recoloring, doing sketches to images, and 3D to images. And most of these are in a developmental stage, so you can't actually use them. And I've done some with the text effects and generative fill, but I've really concentrated on the text to image. So let's go on over to there and see what we get. Okay, now you'll notice that down here, it says I'm using the art style.
Right.
Okay. However, I could change that to photo, which I will do. But before we do that, you wanted women in your picture, Linda?
Yeah, this is all women. I mean, well, the one in the bottom right is a couple of black dudes, but wow, that's weird.
Yeah. But I tell you what I like, that this is actually a nice design.
Huh.
This is usable. I think that I would prefer this one, the lower left one, or maybe the lower right. The upper right one, this arm is a little bit long. This arm's a little bit long. And on this one, not bad. I think it's a little bit,
Everybody's eyes are closed.
yeah, and the shapes they did were a little bit posterized, I guess. Let's change that to photo. So I click on to photo, and it will retry it now. Okay. Now, what do we got?
Yeah.
I can't find, well, yeah, there's one thing wrong here. Let me take a look at it. You see right here, double
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. But some of those, multi-button mouse, they can be really tricky and, they need that.
There's also a problem with the woman in the magenta shirt in the center. Her arm is kind of doing something weird for her sleeve and her hand.
Yeah, because you see, it doesn't line up. So you have to figure that she has, an enormous arm, which she doesn't have. So that's a problem with that one.
It's also, again, I'm picky about the demographics, but there should be some white men in a user group. So it's kind of gone the other extreme. Seems to me it should be a variety of people.
Let's see if I can fix that. Okay. Now this one. There's,
That's a little weird.
a little knobbiness on the little finger, and
It just looks.
shape is strange, and this is strange, and
Yeah.
I don't know whether this hand belongs to her, what's going on there.
But you can see if you clipped that, if you cropped it, it would be quite good. Just getting rid of that arm.
Now, what about this one?
Better.
we got?
Well, better, except the woman in the middle, her left hand looks also a little deformed or something.
If it had more motion blur on it, it would have hidden that. So adding a little motion blur might be a good idea. And this person here, is one of our 6-finger people. Because you can see the ring little and then extra
Right.
finger. So, you have that happening. But I love their expressions. This is good. You know,
Can we see the one? Yeah, that one. I like the reflections on the screens are
Mhm.
interesting.
His chin looks a little odd. It's like his face is good, but his chin looks a little like there's something a little out of whack there. And
Yeah,
his hand,
not,
is his hand
yeah.
much bigger than it should be?
It doesn't seem proportion right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the keyboard is weird too on the right side.
Right. Point. Good point.
Mhm. Okay. Let's see if we can get a variation here.
There we go.
This hand is still bad. I think if I looked at this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this is one of our 6-finger people.
And his left hand, those fingers are awfully long.
Yeah. Well, you see, they cut this one off.
Yeah.
So
Good. Not good.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
That's a 6th finger.
Yeah.
you know, he's just the start of the genetic shift that was giving us 6 fingers. Yes. Yeah.
So were they using their image gallery to basically get these faces, and so that they're not really fully generative, but they're actually using
Well,
clip
okay.
art as the basis?
Yeah, all the diffusion systems are using pre-existing art, and what they are doing is they are taking your text prompt and they are shuffling through all of their images, and they're saying, okay, we want it to look something like these, and then it starts with the noise and starts adding elements to the noise until it begins to approach what it feels is a representation similar to the ones that you asked for in the text prompt. So yes, there's a good chance that you can find these human faces somewhere in the stock photography.
Hmm.
Remember back with the DALL-E system and the Midjourney system, it looked like the same guy was showing up. And that's probably because they had access to the same stock photography. But bear in mind that it is trying to give you a representation based on millions of images. And
Right.
there were probably a few hundred that matched my text prompt. So whatever when it puts those into the blender and denoises it, this is what it comes up with. Okay.
So were you able to, when you get an image, to then coach it into improving the image, correcting things that are wrong, or giving you, for instance, I know using ChatGPT, I can, ask it to write something and then say, that's good, but that detail was wrong, or give me a darker ending or something like that. And it will keep refining it to what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't let you do that with explicit text. All you can do is ask for the variations and choose one that's better, then ask for variations of it, choose ones that's better and ask for variations of it, and so on, until you kind of zero in on what you want. Okay.
I notice all of these are also being used through various web interfaces and online sources. Do you know if anyone's made an attempt to actually make a local version you might be able to run at home?
Yeah. Well, when you say run at home, you mean load up the model onto your local computer and run it from there?
Yes.
Yes, you can do that with some of these systems like Stable Diffusion. But, you either go with a very limited model or you dedicate a lot of, storage space for it. And you also have to suffer a fairly long processing time. Um, let's see, David, did you mention that you had tried that with images, or was it just text? I don't know.
I'll start with text and then have it refined from the best of the group of 4 that it generated.
Okay. Um,
And generally, it's much lower quality than what you're getting.
mm,
I have a question. What prompt did you use to generate the Mac images?
a computer user group looking at Mac.
Okay, so that means that the system would then go out and look for any pictures labeled user group, which are probably not a lot of, right? So we may not be getting very good results. I wondered if you turn around and said something like 3 people looking at a computer, if it had a better sample set and could generate better results.
Okay, that's the art version. Let me change that to a photo.
Let's hear that at least they cleverly kind of hide. Well, I don't know, cleverly or not. The hands are more hidden, so it looks pretty good.
One in the lower left still has an odd hand, though.
Yeah.
I think this one at the upper left too. I mean, look at this.
Yeah,
What the heck is that?
the
So,
hands are not good.
yeah.
I do notice all of them have the same orientation. I wonder if that's an artifact of their particular original concept, or if there's a preponderance of pictures in that perspective.
What do you mean by same orientation?
They're looking,
Looking at
toward,
All
toward
of
the
them have
front of
3
the
people
screen.
facing the camera with a laptop in front.
all right. Well, except for 2. There's 2 there.
Well, let's just quickly play around with some of the variations, and let's try graphic, see what that looks like. Okay.
Cartoons.
I don't care for that.
Now this is actually a nice result if you were, looking for a illustrative graphic to use. This
Even in this, the lower right cartoon and the hands, and they're not really that well done.
this one not so much, but
Yeah.
if I was doing this professionally, I'd be thinking to myself, well, I can fix that. I
Yeah.
can download it. I can open it up in say Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, and clean that up nicely.
Before you converted it, or what? I mean, well, this was
Well,
converted.
I mean, I would
This is
download.
generated by the application. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I would download the sky and then edit it myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
By the way, I should mention that when you download an image from Adobe, it puts a little watermark label right over here, because Adobe wants to make sure that an artificially generated image is labeled as being artificially generated. And you, of course, can remove that yourself later, but it does do that.
I wonder then if the hands are an unintentional way of flagging it as an AI image.
No, I don't think so. I think that is a genuine problem, that AI has. It is interesting, though, how it does seem to be kind of universal over all the diffusion models. It'll be interesting to see if Meta Chameleon, which uses an entirely different way, the transformer model, if it's going to have the same difficulty.
So since you can't copyright and an artificially generated image, does that mean that anything you added to one of these images, if you selected it, could also not be copyrighted? So it would be.
Well, if I use this as an element in a greater artwork that I had generated myself, then the whole thing is copyrightable. Okay. You can take non-copyrighted elements, put them into your own creation, and that becomes copyrightable. But it has to be, a substantial creative effort by a person. I should mention that copyrights, when challenged, are done so on an individual basis. You don't call upon precedent to say, well, this is obviously copyrightable. The judge has to look at it and says, oh yeah, I agree that you put some effort into this, or you might go, oh yeah, I don't think you really did anything at all. So you cannot predict beforehand before you end up in court as to whether or not your copyright will be upheld.
Can you change
You know-
the style of it? For instance, you have this cartoon here. Can you make it a cartoon, an anime cartoon, or a comic strip cartoon, or a la Herblock, or what are your limitations? Must you use this one and this one alone?
No, you can use it any way you like. Just understand that the image itself is not copyrighted.
Right.
Wanted to take an image of this sort and actually change it to anime styling, would you need to add that into the initial text, or is there an extra setting on the right that would
Well, let's
make
see.
that happen?
I think I have something here for that. Let me see what I got.
Concepts.
Let's see. Techniques, painting, sliding, stripping bold lines. Okay. How about themes? Is it between themes, pixel art? I have cartoon, but cartoon is not precisely anime.
Mm.
But let's see what that does to it.
It's already cartoon, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of more production graphics.
Okay. Huh?
Hmm.
It's funny.
Ooh, ooh, that bottom left is creepy.
Yeah, the bottom left is truly weird.
So what if you just added anime style into the text prompt?
Okay. See what
Yeah,
that
I'm not
does.
sure
Let me
quite
get
how
rid
you.
of this.
Yeah, that's
There's the
my
styles
suspicion,
here.
is that it needs to be added to that prompt there in order for it to happen at present.
What is Japanese style cartoon? Really popular now.
That makes me wonder how it is actually setting all of the different styles and other settings across that right bar.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there you go. Yeah.
Look at the bottom left.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Huh?
All the upper, yeah. Bottom left, upper right.
Mhm.
Yep.
The hair on this guy.
This will be a little dangerous.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
What did you add? Oh,
Added
adult.
the word adult.
Anime style.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, the upper right.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think
Hmm.
I still think the lower left is closest to my way of thinking, but
Yeah.
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 So does Firefly require a subscription?
Yes, and I do use the Adobe Creative Suite. However, I should comment that they have recently started making that available via Adobe Express, which has a free account. So I think that very soon you will have access to everything via their Come On applications. Adobe Express is what I call a Come On application because they get people using that and they say, well, I want to do more. And they say, fine, no problem at all. Just purchase the Adobe Creative Suite.
right.
So Adobe Express is free?
Yes,
Oh.
there's a free version.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I should also comment that I think it's only a matter of time before you will be able to script out a sequence of images, maybe even do a full animation. And
Still have hands down here.
get that done. Okay. So let's see. What else would we like to do? Some ideas?
But something non-human, say a turtle in an aquarium or something like that, or I mean, I liked that colorful fish in a fishbowl that was in one of the sample images. I forget which program that was.
Face, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you stay away from human elements, you can
Mhm.
get some
Yeah.
very usable images.
Yeah.
I wonder what would happen if you gave it something extraordinarily abstract,
Like
earthquake and a hurricane.
That doesn't sound abstract at all. I think we actually had that happen.
yes, today, down south, SoCal.
Mhm.
Wow.
Very tempestuous.
Really.
Huh.
Well, upper right is pretty good.
How do you spell Dorothy?
DORO.
O-T-H-Y?
Yeah.
DORTHY?
O.
There we go. That's right. No Dorothy.
No, Dorothy.
Oh. Okay.
This is interesting.
It may not have been enough for it to make the literary connection.
Yeah.
Well, except that Dorothy was a tornado. Ooh.
Ooh.
Well, at least I have a Dorothy here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
And the
Rainbow.
lower right one could be a Dorothy, hard to say.
You get the rainbow.
Yeah. How weird. Very good. Okay, it is 8:24.
So I know there are a number of these tools that are getting around in an entirely different genre. I know that there's a company or two out there working to build the audio generation.
Hmm.
I think Apple has even
11 labs. Mhm.
stated that
Yeah.
the next OS is going to have a way
Unmuted, so you can
to
say.
simulate your own voice on your phone.
Hmm. That's right.
So there is no segment of media that is not safe.
That is not safe or that is safe?
Sorry, no segment of media is safe from these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So early on in your presentation, Robert, when you were talking about having an AI character generated from your own face, does it actually create a you, or does it just use your movements to create like that MC that you use?
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. Let's see.
If you found this video useful and enjoyable, you can help this channel. Below
Wow.
the video channel is a control button labeled subscribe. Click it to change it to subscribe. Once you have subscribed, there will be a drop-down menu on this button that has the option to receive notifications of future videos. Please select that option. This will help promote this channel. Also, please share our content with others who may like it. Thank you very much for watching our content.
Wow.
Wow.
So did you create that and then you just gave it a text prompt to speak, or is that a recording?
It's not exactly a recording. What I did is I worked with a company called Synthesia. And using a script they gave me, I recorded myself doing various motions and other things. Let me just stop the share here. They would say, for example, keep your hands in your lap and say this. Now put your hands up like this and say that, and nod and so forth. And you do that on their script. And they take all the little pieces of that and they will use it in the future to build a synthetic video of you with a voice matching the mouth movements matching the voice of whatever script you give it. Now you can also, through a company called 11 Labs, read a script of various words, and from that, they can generate your voice saying anything at all. So, putting those two together, it is possible to, create a fake of anyone that you have managed to record saying anything. So there you go.
So what was the exact workflow to get what you just showed us? First, you went through their scripts.
Correct.
And then what happened?
And then they spent a few hours, I think it was about 24 hours, to basically go through it, parse out different sections of it, digitize it, and prepare it to be synced to a script. So basically, they've broken me up into little fractional second pieces that they're able to string together to create the lip motion and body motion and so forth that they like for a given script.
So you had given them the script up front, or later on after they'd created?
Later on, that's now a ready to go thing. I can basically give them text at any time, and they will create a video of me saying that text.
Wow.
The same way they create a video of Emma that you saw earlier.
Now they can take you saying whatever you said and give it to an avatar to say?
Yep, they can do that too.
Oh, God. So scary.
So that was essentially an avatar, right?
Yes.
Oh.
An avatar of you.
An avatar that looks like me, yeah. Same way the avatar of Emma looks like someone that created it. In fact, let me just go to their website, since that may be of interest to you. It's different than we've been talking about, but let's have a look at it. Okay, this is the Synthesia website. And if you look down here, these are all the videos that I've created in the past. Okay, if I click over here, these are the available avatars, and there's mine. Okay, and the one that I tend to favor is Emma. And there's the two versions of Emma that are available. So you have many possibilities that you can use. Okay, and they go on and on and on. And there are forthcoming some of these that are purely virtual. Let me see if I can bring up a purely virtual one.
Are these mostly user supplied?
Most of them are professionally supplied. Mine is user supplied by me, of course. And they would not let other people use my avatar. That's just for my account alone.
Really?
However, the others are either a professional actor or actress or virtual, and these are supposedly all virtual that I'm looking at here. So these guys never existed.
Wow.
This
Did you
explains
pay for this service?
Pardon?
Did you pay for this service?
I do. They offer a free account, but I do have a professional account.
And I said, this explains the actor strike.
Yes, it is one of the things that is at issue. The actors that are striking, well, of course, all of them are striking together. There's full solidarity in the Stage Actors Guild. But the ones that are hurting are the ones that typically do extra work or bit work or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where the pay is low and they don't get residuals. What happened was that in old TV, you always got a little bit each time the show was played, because shows were sponsored and the money from the commercial sponsor could be divvied out, and paid to these guys. For streaming services, each time that it's streamed by a user of the service, there's no new income. The subscriber paid their fee up front, and the fact that they choose to look at Dallas season 5, episode 3 over and over and over again doesn't increase the revenue going to the streaming service. And hence there's no residues for the actors. So that's what they want to have changed. They want to have the model of how actors are paid changed to reflect the way that streaming is done. As for writers and that kind of thing, yeah, they're concerned too, because it is possible to get GPT to write out a script, not a very good script, but it could do it. And no one gets paid for that. So that's what they want to prevent. Okay. I think you've seen most of these.
As a good sample on this, NPR's podcast Planet Money did a 3-part series at the end of last May, where they said, could we produce an entire audio podcast from script through audio using just AI tools? And they managed it, and it was fairly decent, but you could tell there were a lot of rough edges on it. If people want to look into a bit more of this stuff, I highly recommend the podcasts from Planet Money.
And there was also an experiment to write an AI bill in Congress using AI to write it.
Okay.
That might be an improvement.
So is there any way to tell that the voice is AI? I mean, we hear about people piecing together words that you've said and then playing that recording for a family or something, trying to get money. Is there a way to tell that they've used AI to do that?
That's a problem, because I can upload an audio recording and have it use that rather than a script. So if you manage to get a few choice words recorded from somebody, that may be enough to fool people. Over here, this little drop down allows me to choose different voices. So you see, I have English natural, narration, and so forth, and soft, and all that. Danish, German, Greek, Spanish, so on. And also, as I said, there's 11 labs where I can give it sufficient recordings of a voice, it will make it possible to have that voice say anything. So that can be a problem. Okay. So I don't know what else to show you here, because you're probably too tired of hearing from Emma all the time.
We should probably begin to wind down if we're going to do anything else.
Yeah, okay. So any last questions before we just move on?
Well, I will tell you that we will never get to use any of these techniques, but watching you do this is absolutely memorable and a little bit amazing. I don't know what else to say, but it was absolutely fascinating and sort of brings us into the 21st century in a way that we're not used to.
Bottom line, thank you, Robert.
Okay. And as you can see, I had to put in this huge server system to do all this. So,
That's right.
yeah. All righty, I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah,
The
thank you,
largest
Robert.
part
This
that
is very good. Really, thank
I
you.
hope you found this video presentation by the Silicon Valley Macintosh User Group informative and useful. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel. The buttons for subscribing, receiving notifications, and tagging this video with a like are below. Choosing one or two, or all three options will help promote our videos. The Silicon Valley Macintosh User Group, SVMUG, is one of the most long-running groups for persons interested in the Macintosh computer, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, and other Apple products. Our focus is on the user experience. However, we also discuss various related technological and social topics. Our live online meetings feature recent news, a topical presentation, and a question and answer session. Information about our online meeting may be found on the group's website. A link is shown in the video description.